The Help was released on August 10, 2011, and was based off the New York Times best-selling novel written by Kathryn Stockett. The storyline focuses on a young girl by the name of Skeeter in the 1960s whose dream is to become a big-time writer. After graduating from Ole Miss, she returns back home to Jackson, Mississippi, where she reunites with her high-class friends and also accepts a job as a housekeeping columnist for the local paper. In order to write the weekly column, Skeeter chooses to talk to and recruit one of her friend's maids, Aibileen. While spending time with Aibileen, Skeeter gets the idea to write a book from the side of the maids. While first reluctant, Aibileen climbs on board and recruits others, such as Minnie, to tell their side and stories in the relationship between a maid and the white employer. The book, The Help, gets published a short time later after hardships and oppression. As the stories of the maids are followed, it becomes apparent how historically accurate the film is. During the 1960s, the civil rights movement reached its pinnacle moment while issues like segregation became focal points. While the movie doesn't hit every aspect, it does touch on much, including the dependence of the white society on the black society. The maids here, much like in history, raised the children they looked after. In this scene, Aibileen continues to teach and aid her employer's young child when the mother won't do so.
You is kind, you is smart, you is important, you is smart, you is kind, you is important. Oh, that's so good.
The issue of segregation comes up much in this film, especially where Hilly, one of the main white employers, is concerned. Hilly strongly believes in separate bathrooms as well as in the ideal of separate but equal.
Never mind. You go on ahead and use the inside bath, Minnie. It's all right.
Oh, for crying out loud, it's just a little rain. She can go on up and get an umbrella from William's study.
I believe she would.
Hilly's attitude in this scene portrays the attitude of many Southern whites during the 60s. Many were for segregation and refused to share anything with African Americans. This led to many facilities being segregated throughout the 20th century. In the 60s, African Americans began to fight back against this inhumane practice. In the story, one of the maids, Yul May, faces police brutality when she is accused of theft. They arrest her and beat her right in front of the other maids. This incident compares to many in the 1960s where police would abuse their power and brutally attack innocent protesters. One of the most famous events was the Birmingham protest in Alabama where all were met with force. This film depicts this aspect of white supremacy and brutality well.
They killed my son. He fell carrying 2x4s at the mill. Truck ran over him, crushed his lung. That white foreman threw his body on back of a truck. Drove to the colored hospital. Dumped him there and honked the horn.
Going along with this idea of police brutality came the equivalent terror from the Ku Klux Klan. The terrorizing group singled out many, including those who were Black, Catholic, and Jewish. In the story, the shooting of an African American family man sends Abileen's neighborhood upside down as seen here. Incidents like this in history brought out the fear and anxiety buried within most African Americans. The film shows the non-violence reality that many blacks lived. Many, like Aibileen, chose to follow activists like Martin Luther King who believed in non-violent protest, while others, like Minnie, chose to follow Malcolm X and the Black Panthers' ideal of hitting back when hit. Also leading up to the scene, Aibileen and a fellow worker were kicked off the bus due to the shooting and the whites were able to stay. This is accurate, and events like these led to other events like the Montgomery bus boycott, where Rosa Parks refused to give up a seat to a white man. Brutality and resistance followed. In The Help, other scenes depict history well, like the civil relationships between some whites and blacks. Skeeter and Aibileen become friends, while Celia and Minnie grow past the strict employer-employee relationship as well. These white employers support their maids just like a handful of whites supported the civil rights movement. In the past, whites have been seen to walk with and protest alongside African Americans for civil rights. As far as fiction goes, The Help was actually not a book written in the 60s, but a book written and published in the 21st century. The characters are fictional, but the events and treatment are as close to reality as possible.